All right, so this is practice for quiz 7, it's happening this Friday. So first question says, which method of data collection is used if you collect data for a study about the effects of a certain drug given to the 10 patients and placebo given to another group of 10 patients to determine if the drug is effective? Of course, it's going to be an experiment. Again, you are given to 10 patients a drug, and then given another drug to another group of patients, placebo. And then you're seeing if the drug is effective. Okay. For number 2, a company average salary is 58,000 with a standard deviation. So again, this is your mean. This is your mean and your standard deviation. So your mean is 58,000 and your standard deviation is 4,000. So again, we are going to draw our empirical rule graph. We start at 58,000. Okay, your first question says 68% of the salaries fall between. So I already know 68% is the empirical rule. And I also know that 68% falls into one standard deviation from the middle. So I don't got to do more than one. So 58,000 plus our 4,000, it's going to be 62,000. And then 58,000 minus 4,000, it's going to be 54,000. So this is my 68%. So I know the correct answer for this question is D, 54,000 and 62,000. Okay. Now, what is the probability that an employee makes at least 55,000? Well, I can look at my graph right here and say the 55,000 somewhere in between here. So I cannot use the empirical rule anymore. I do have to use my calculator. So I know that I need my lower bound, upper bound, my mu, and my standard deviation. So what is the probability the employee makes at least? So the minimum that the employee has to make is 55,000. So I know this is going to be my lower bound. Of course, if we don't have an upper bound, we're going to use a number 1 million. My mu is 58,000, and my standard deviation is 4,000. Okay, I'm going to use my calculator. Again, your teacher should have it listed. I have it on my e-class. All right. So we're going to go to, again, second vars. I'm going to go to a second option, enter. Now we said that my upper bound was 55,000. My lower bound was, my lower bound was 55,000. My upper bound is 1 million. I apologize. So lower bound 55,000 because we need at least, he wants to make at least 55,000. Upper bound 1 million. I know that my mean is 58,000. And my standard deviation is 4,000. All right, enter, enter. All right, it's 0.7733. That's 77%, 0.33. So if we go back to our graph here, all right, that's 0.7734 if we round it up. Okay, so it's answer B. All right, 3. Annual snowfall in Montana is normally distributed with a mean of, again, this is your mean, 250 inches per year and a standard deviation of 46, okay, inches per year. What is the probability that snowfall is? At most 350. So I will draw my empirical rule. It starts at 250. Okay, so if it says at least 350, let me see if I have it. I'm going to add 46. So adding, that's going to be 296. Adding another 46 should give me 233.42. And then the last one should be 388. All right, so at most 350. Well, I don't have 350. 350 would be somewhere in between these two these two numbers. So I am going to use my calculator to estimate. So again, I need lower bound, upper bound. Your mu is 250, and your standard deviation is 46. Now, it says at most 350 inches. So 350 inches is going to my upper bound because that's as far as I can go. Now, my lower bound, remember, if we don't have a number, we're going to use a negative million. Okay? Then again, we're going to put it into our calculator. So second bars, second, enter. Okay, negative million. It's going to be, upper bound is 350. My mean is 250, and my standard deviation is 46. Okay, so I got 0.9851. So that's 98%.51. Okay, so that's 98.51%. All right, now, second one says is more than 250 inches. So I can look at my graph right here, and I see 250, it's my mean. Okay, so I could calculate and add all this percentage. 34%, 13.5%, 2.5%, or 0.15. I could add all that, but I also know that mean is an average, so that's a 50% of my data. Okay, so right there. All right, question 4. The superintendent of Gwinnett County wants to know how teachers feel about working at their school. Gwinnett County is one of the largest educational systems in the country with over 10,000 teachers. The superintendent is limited on time to collect information. Which of the following is the best method to select teachers for a study? So collect information, so that's something we learned today. So collect information from all first-year teachers. Well, not really, because then you're selecting it, you're limiting it to just first-year teachers. Collect information from 200 randomly selected elementary school teachers. So again, they're trying to figure out for the whole entire county, right? So elementary will be again selecting a specific group of teachers. Collect information from 200 randomly selected teachers in the county, okay? Or collect information from 200 randomly collected teachers who have worked in county for at least 15 years. Again, that is selecting specific type of teachers that worked for at least 15 years. So the correct answer is C, collect information from 200 randomly selected teachers in the county. So we're giving an opportunity to everybody to take a survey. So this will be the most accurate. This will be simple random. Okay? All right, question 5 is, which sampling method is at least biased? Least biased, so the least biased, most accurate. A, researchers wants to know the average amount of students that people who are earning degrees expect to have. She surveys 100 randomly selected students at expensive medical school. I do not think that this is the best. This is biased, right? Obviously, I think it's pretty strongly biased since you're going to an expensive medical school when people have a lot of debt. Okay, so that wouldn't be accurate. B, it's a survey of a community. It's conducted by asking the first 25 persons passing through the entrance gate to the football field if the school should drop the sports program. Again, this is pretty strongly biased, right? They're going to the sports game that they are going to watch, and they're asking them if they should drop the sports program. A survey of the students is conducted by asking every student who brings their own lunch if they like the lunches at the school. Again, if they're asking people that make their own lunch and don't eat the lunch at school, that is not a most accurate data if they bring in their own lunch and they never eat lunch at school. And indeed, the principal at school wants to know if the new teachers feel that they have been given enough support from the administration. He makes an appointment to interview half of the teachers who have been at the school for 2 years or less and ask for their feedback. So I believe that it would be the least biased. It is still a little bit, but it will be the most accurate data that you would get out of your choices. Okay. All right, question 6. The news shows display the results of a poll for 2 candidates runoff election between candidate A and B. The poll shows that a candidate A is leading 53%, and that the margin of error is 4.9. So again, as you guys remember, we're going to take the 53% and add and subtract our margin of error. So this is going to give us, if we added 57.9, and this is going to give us, if we subtracted 4.9, so 48.1. Okay, so now my range is between 48.1 and 57.9. Okay, so if I'm looking at my answers, a candidate A cannot get more than 58% of vote. Well, this is my range, okay, of the estimates of the prediction. All right, of course he can get 58% of votes. And, you know, that's not predicted. This is unpredictable. So, you know, this is a prediction that we're making for the margin, including the margin of error. But of course, the polls can spike up to make more than 58% of votes. The poll should not be trusted since the margin of error is attached. That is not true. That's why we need a margin of error. Candidate A will win because the mean percentage of the poll is greater than 50%. Again, that is not true. We do not estimate it on the mean. And the candidate A cannot be predicted as a winner because the percentage of the voters is between 48.1 and 57.9%. That is the correct answer. Why? Because remember, for the candidate A to win, he has to score more than 50%. Okay, so if the margin of error has some negative or below numbers of 51%, that means we cannot predict if he's going to be a winner because it could go both ways. All right, question 7, on the local highway, the average speed is 66 miles an hour. That's your mean, and the standard deviation is 4. Assuming speed is normally distributed with a z-score for a car going 60 miles an hour. It's asking what is the z-score? So again, remember z-score is our amount minus your mean divided by standard deviation. So 60 minus 66 divided by 4 will get you negative 1.5. Okay, so it's answer B. All right, now he says which statements are true about the graph, question A. So this is obviously an exponential graph. All right, so my asymptote looks like it's at 1. I'm going to draw it right here for you guys. So here we go. As x approaches positive infinity, so as x is approaching positive infinity right here, okay, my f of x, my function, is approaching 3. That is not true. My function is traveling toward positive infinity. So first question, option A is not correct. B, the values of f of x, which is my function, which is my y's, are negative on the interval of -5 and -1. Remember, the interval means x-axis. So this is the range, -5 to -1. All right, so between here and here, they're saying the values of this function are negative. That is also not correct. They are positive. All right. Now, next option, option C. Option C says as x approaches negative infinity, my function is approaching 1. And that is correct because 1, my function y, is approaching my asymptote. So this is our correct answer. And then let's check the last one. The x-intercept is at 2. No, it's not. Our function's y-intercept is at 2. Okay, not x. All right. Question 9. This is a log function, obviously. So my asymptote is going to be vertically, and it looks like it's going through -4. All right. So here it says which statement is false. All right. So option A, as x approaches positive infinity, right here, my function is going, so as I'm approaching positive, my function is going up. That is correct. So that is not our answer. We're looking for false statement. The interval of an increase, so the way the function is increasing looking left to right, interval again, x-axis, it's from -infinity to positive infinity. That is not correct because we have an asymptote. Asymptote right here, it's our wall. So that means our interval increase would be from our asymptote, -4, to positive infinity. Okay? So that's what supposed to be. So this is a false statement, which is our correct answer. Okay? Now, if we want to check the other one, the range of the function is negative infinity to positive infinity. That is correct. The range goes up or down. These are our y values. There is no asymptote to stop it, so it's a correct answer, and it's a correct statement. And D is as x approaches negative infinity. Again, we are approaching the asymptote first, okay, and then after we approach this asymptote -4, our function travels down. This is also a correct statement. Okay, so the correct answer for this question, a false statement, was B. The interval of the increase is not negative infinity to positive infinity. Next question, question 10. Which value represents the largest solution? F of x equals g of x. So again, we're going to take this two functions and we're going to use Desmos. Let me set that up for you and I'll be right with you. All right, guys, so I put both of those functions in. Again, as you can notice right here, first function and then the second function, f of x and the g of x are all put in. Okay, now when it's asking you which represents the largest solution, so solutions will be where the two functions cross each other. So we got 1, 2, 3 times in 3 different places that this function, the absolute value function, and the other function cross each other. Now, of course, when we talk about what is the largest solution, we're looking at x values only. Okay, so we got negative 0.33, we got -1, and we have 0. The largest solution, so again, you talked about point right here, which is negative 0.33. You have a point right here, okay, which is, I'm sorry, this is -1, y'all. This is negative 0.033. And now here it's going to be, the next point is going to be at 0. So of course, looking left to right, you guys, I'm sure, got an idea that the largest solution here is 0. Okay, because out of all 3, -1 is the smallest, negative 0.33 is the middle, 0 is the largest solution on x-axis out of those two functions. Okay, so going back, answer is B. All right. Okay. Now, for question 11 again, you are, guys, welcome to graph it and shade it exactly in Desmos. This is a step function. So let's see. I like to write things down on the side. Obviously, I got so I can compare it to my answers. Okay, so I don't get really confused because there is a lot of answers here. So I know that this function crosses through y-axis equals 3. I know this function crosses through y-axis equals 0, and this function crosses through y-axis equals -2. So these are my 3 step functions now. They, of course, have a constraints, which are restrictions, basically, the 2 points that are in between. Now, I also know, and just a reminder, that a closed circle, it's always going to be greater or equal to or less or equal to. An open circle is going to be greater than or equal to, okay? So now, again, looking at the answer A, all right? For y equals 3 right here, all right? I have points between -2 and 1 right here, okay? So -2 and 1. Now this has a small closed circle, so that means it's going to be less than or equal to, and x, and then 1 has an open circle, so it's going to be less than, okay? Why? Just remember that the key is to make sure they go in the right direction. Both of them are going the same direction, and here is why. Because if you guys ever break this down, if you take, because I had this issue with my students when doing practice, if we write this down, -2 is greater than x, it's less than 1. Okay, now let's see. If I break this down and do it and cover it up, let's just say erase this, I only get -2, it's less than x, and then take the second part of this and do x is less than 1, right? It was all put together, right? So please make sure that you guys make sure that your arrows are going in the right direction and that you guys understanding what it means. This also means that x is greater or equal to -2. okay? But then x is also less than 1. So is that true? Is x greater or equal to -2 and x is greater than 1? Yes, it is, okay? Now, so I can tell that in my first answer A, this is not a correct sign. I have a greater or equal to. I have a closed circle here. So A cannot be my answer, okay? Now, can B be my answer? Yes. C, yes. D, yes. Okay, so now let's try another one. Make sure that 1 right here, it's open. 1 right here, it's open. 1 right here, it's open. Oops, look at that. Okay, and answer D, x is less than or equal to 1. That is not true. We have an open circle. So D is also not my answer. Okay, all right, so we eliminated 2 of them. All right, now let's try to do, I don't know, next one. All right, so this one will y equals 0. This is an open circle, and this is a closed circle. We got x in between, and the numbers are 1 and 2. All right, so now let's go to B, and let's check if my second answer matches. This is all correct. Good. How about C? Oh, look at that. In a C answer, right there, this is greater, this is less than -2. It's less or equal to x according to answer C, and this is not true. Our, nope, hold on, I'm in wrong. Let me apologize. I'm looking in the wrong line, guys, see? But then again, this is the same thing. It's 1 less than x less than 2. This is what answer C right here it says, and obviously this is not what our function is saying. Okay, so the correct answer is B. Now, let's make sure that all the constraints match our function. So again, here we had closed circle and an open circle, and our constraints range was -2 and 1. Okay, so let's check. -2 less than or equal to x less than 1. Correct. For our second function, y equals 0, we had 1 less than x less than or equal to 2. Also check. And then the last one, I got -3 here, and I got what looks like 0. Yeah, it looks like 0 right here. Okay, so again, both of those ends are open. So let's see, for B, -3 and 0, both of them are open, correct. So this is a correct answer. All right. All right. Now, again, continuous, we have a piecewise function. Okay. So we are going to match the function into the graphs that we're given. So all the graphs, all the functions right here are listed are the same. So first one, y equals 5x squared minus 12x minus 2. Obviously, it's going to be the half of parabola. Okay, it's 5x squared. What is it? Minus 12x minus 2. Okay, now this function right here looks like the absolute value function of y equals x plus 4, an absolute value plus 1. Let me write it nicely. Y equals x plus 4 plus 1. And then the last one looks like a linear function, so that must be 2x plus 5. Okay? Now again, the constraints are our restrictions. So let's start with the first function, which is our quadratic parabola. Okay? Our parabola starts somewhere, looks like, let's just see. Looks like it's 0.5, like a half a point here. All right, and again, it's an open circle. So let's check and make sure which answers can we eliminate. Ooh, they all have an open circle. Okay, never mind. Now, our function has an open circle, and our function is to the right of that open circle. So it's to the right of that value of x value of 0.5. So that means that it's going to have an arrow greater or than 0.5. Okay, so all the numbers going in this direction are part of that function. Okay, so I can tell that this cannot be it. Okay, possibly B. C possibly, and D also could not be at the arrow. It's going in the wrong direction. Okay, so we know that this one is correct. Now let's check absolute value. All right, so I'm again between answer B and C. So absolute value is my second function. My absolute value has a closed circle, okay? And it's somewhere at -2. So it's going to be x, and it's going in the left of that -2. So it's going to be x that is less than or equal to -2, because again, the way we want to write it is if the arrow of the function is going this way, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, it is less than, and of course the equal, because of the closed circle, of the value that it's starting at the x value of -2. So let's see, between B and C, ooh, okay, so C is my correct answer because B cannot be, because it has a less than, okay, it has an open circle. And just to make sure that we are correct, we can check the last function. The last function at answer C should be both open circles between 2 points of -6, if we trace it up, and -4. That is correct, okay? Now, it's asking you what is the rate of change of the interval. So again, your x-axis between -6, which is here, and -4, all right? So I'm going to trace it down here and then down here. So what is basically the piece of this linear function that already has a constraint? What is the rate of change? Remember, guys, the rate of change is your slope. So again, we're going 1 up, 1 over, 1 up, 1 over, okay? No, let me see. I don't think that's it. All right, so again, right here, the slope is 2. I was just confused by my own circles here. So it goes from here, 1, 2, 1 over, 1, 2, 1 over. So it is 2 over 1, which the correct answer of the slope is 2. All right, now remember that a property to be able to cancel the logs out on each side, it has to be 2 logs proportional on each side of the equal sign. So here, we got too many logs, so we're going to combine them. We're going to condense it. So when we have a negative sign, just remember that it becomes a fraction. So this is a log of 2x plus 3, now divided by 4. So the negative part of the log will go on the bottom, and that equals the log of 5x. Now, since both of those logs are on each side of the equal sign, I could proportionally cancel them out, which leaves me with the insides of a 2x plus 3 over 4 equals 5x. Now to get rid of this 4, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. Okay, so these can cancel out, leaving me with 2x plus 3 equals 20x. Okay, now of course, just a simple math, two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, which gives me 3 equals 18x, and divide both sides by 18 to solve for x. That gives me 3 over 18, or 1/6. Okay, now here, find an inverse. Again, ln of 3x minus 1 equals 4. Now remember, to undo the ln, we got to do e. We don't have anything else to move, so just going to put e in here and e in here. These going to cancel out, which leaves me with 3x minus 1, the inside, and e to the 4th. And now I'm just solving for x, so I got to move the 1. I'm going to add 1 first, which leaves me with 3x equals e to the 4th plus 1. Again, this 1 does not belong to the exponent of 4, just to the side. And then divide the entire equation by 3. So x should equal e to the 4th plus 1, now divided by 3. So answer B. All right, and the last 3 questions. Here we're solving for q. So q is right here in exponent. So first I'm going to move the 1. So 6r minus 1 now will equal 3qs. Now this is an exponential function, so since I moved it, this function is ready to be converted into the inverse, which is log. So log, our base is 3, of what's on the other side, 6r minus 1. Okay, this is r. Now equals the exponent, qs. Now again, to solve for q, all we have to do is divide both sides by s. So q will equal log 3 of 6r minus 1, the whole thing divided by s. All right, so here we can combine the logs, but again, we don't have another log on another side to cancel out. So let's just combine the two. Remember, when you're adding them, you're multiplying. So that means this is a log 5 of 3 times x plus 9 will equal 2. Now, of course, since I don't have another log on the other side, I cannot cancel those logs out. But what I can do is I can distribute the 3. So log of 5 now will equal 3x plus 27 will equal 2. Now, of course, to undo the log, I'm going to turn it into an exponential. So my base is 5. 5 will be raised to a second power will equal 3x plus 27. So 5 raised to a second power is 25 equals 3x plus 27. I'm going to subtract 27. Subtract 27. That's going to give me negative 2 on this side will equal 3x. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X will equal negative 2 over 3. So that's your answer, C. And then the last question. All right, sounds like we are solving for Q again. So I got S equals P raised to a 2Q minus R. Again, this is an exponential function, so I'm going to turn it into a log. Okay, so I first need to get rid of the R. So the exponent is by itself. Okay, so I'm adding R to both sides. So S plus R now will equal P raised to a 2Q. Now I can turn it into a log. So this is a log. My base is P. I'm raising it, right? So P of S plus R on this side now equals 2Q. And then, of course, since we're solving for Q, the last thing to do is divide the entire side by 2. So final answer, Q equals log of base P of S plus R, the whole thing divided by 2. All right, so this should be an answer A.